So we will begin with the roll call and opening remarks. So,
Ms. Gina Rackley.
Present.
Mr. Jeffrey Sher.
Here.
Mr. Josh Foley. We have a quorum.
Thank you. So thank you to everyone for your time this afternoon for the purposes of the meeting with the subcommittee of the Committee on Local Government Finance, particularly in regards to the Incline Village Improvement GID. So we will begin with public comments if there are any.
If anybody in the room has public comments, you can come up to the table. Anybody on the Zoom, if you have public comment, please raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on the telephone. Phone number ending in 008, you're free to unmute yourself. *6. Go ahead.
This is Aaron Katz. Am I unmuted to give public comment?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes to give your public comment.
Okay, thank you. Aaron Katz, I'm a resident of Incline Village. We're here to examine the statutory grounds for placing IVGID on fiscal watch. One of the grounds is violation of statutes or regulations. On September 18, 2024, Kelly Graham wrote a letter to IVGID stating we're in non-compliance with our 2023 audit requirements. If you examine NRS 354-624-4, you'll see audited financials must include findings on compliance with statutes. Although department staff are fixated with addressing the lack of an auditor's opinion, what about the required findings raise statutory compliance? And here, a major funding source, IVGID's rec facility fee, which is really a tax, is not in compliance with the statutes. And why? Our auditor, Jennifer Farr, admits that it's the product of a non-exchange transaction. So what does this make the rec fee? GASB 33 instructs it's a tax. What kind of a tax? A special tax against property. Where in the NRS is any public agency authorized to levy a special tax against property? Nowhere. Meaning IVGID's rec facility fee, which is really a tax, is not in compliance with the NRS. It's invalid. And if it's invalid, we're basically insolvent. Now, why wouldn't our auditor come clean and share this? A local government that is the product of fraud is what IVGID is. It survives financially on a revenue source not in compliance with the NRS. And now the chickens have come home to roost, which is why it's before the subcommittee. But there's more. The district has made loans to its internal services fund, not in compliance with the NRS, another grounds for fiscal watch. Then the inability to file audited financials for 2023 as well as 2024 in a timely manner, another grounds for fiscal watch. Then the failure to adopt a central services allocation plan in compliance with the NRS for 2022 and 23, another grounds for fiscal watch. How many instances of NRS non-compliance does it take for the department to put IVGID on fiscal watch? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz.
Any other?
If anybody else would like to give public comment, please raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on the telephone. I don't see any others at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for the public comment. So noted. But I would like to say, as we lead into the next agenda item, the purpose of today's meeting is a discussion between the 3 subcommittee members. You know, as you are aware, open meeting law really restricts how the three of us can communicate as we have worked with the IVGID staff. And this is that opportunity for us to speak. And we're going to do that today. There will be no action on this. This is discussion only. So please just point that out. I just want to start off by saying about 5 weeks ago was when we first started having some interactions with the staff up in IVGID. And that first week was actually the new general manager, Kent Walrack's first week on the job. We met the key staff members and really went over the concerns and issues that we have. And I will be honest with you, I drove away that day thinking, okay, we got a group of people here that I truly believe are embedded in this community. They live here. They want this to succeed, but they have a mountain in front of them. And I was a little concerned on how they were going to tackle that. Fast forward here 5 weeks. I want to just tell you, I have been impressed with the work that they have done in 5 weeks. I really, really am. I feel personally that they've made some impressive progress. For example, a spreadsheet was shared with me and showing the audit finding or audit questions that they were asked by their auditor to address, which initially was over 90 items. That's been narrowed down to approximately 24, and a date time to show when they plan to have everything on and done. With that being set for Monday the 13th, I was pleasantly surprised by that. I also was very impressed with a recent hire that IVGID has made. Her name is Jessica. I believe she's in the room there today. I'm going to steal Mr. Walrack's statement. I think they found a needle in the haystack. She has experience in all three of the Tyler key softwares, Munis, Eden, and Encode. So that's really unheard of. She also has experience in governmental accounting and audit work, and reported some great progress that she has made on pooled cash and bank reconciliations, and some plans that they have already begun implementing regarding internal controls and workflows, segregation of duties, which will help going forward with the pooled cash out of balance. They've participated in 6 training sessions over the past month with Tyler, and they have additional training set for February. And then lastly, they've already met regarding the 2026 budget. So they're even thinking ahead. So I really feel like we've got a team here. They're really working hard together. I feel pride when I talk to them that they are proud of what they've accomplished and what they plan to accomplish. And then with a recent hire of a new treasurer coming on board, I think we're headed in the right direction. And that's all I have to say at this point. I'll turn it over to Jeffrey or Josh for any comments.
You want me to go first? Okay, very good. I also want to say that through my conversations, I obviously, being so far away, I didn't have a chance to meet with them in person, but we did have several phone conferences. I met with Vicky, I met with Chelsea, I met with Mark, and I met with Susan through a couple phone conversations, through a couple emails. I found them to be very engaged and very willing to listen to suggestions and help along the way. I do agree that we talked about as well, we talked about internal controls, we talked about segregations of duties. I also talked with them about some, I don't know what the right word would be, but best practices that I used down in Clark County and how we dealt with our board and how we communicated with them through agenda items, through other ways. They had some accounting questions. The accounting side of the house, at least down in Clark County, was taken care of by my comptroller, and I hooked them up with her to have some conversations without me regarding how to account for some certain accounting issues within their internal services and how to proceed forward with those, which I met with her last week. And we talked about it, and she said that they were very involved in it. They understood what she was saying and that they were going to implement. And now she has that relationship with them as well. And she gave them her personal phone number as well as her work and work email to be able to communicate with her as needed, and that she's more than happy to help them going into the future as well. I spoke with them about some issues regarding the budget, as that was more my area of expertise down in Clark County. And obviously the timing of that is coming up. So we kind of left that to the side as they were working more on the audit at that point to be able to finish up to hit the deadlines that they had talked about. We talked about the employees. We talked about temporary help that they were going to bring on. We talked about deadlines and due dates. We talked a lot about communication, and I told them about my experiences with working with Kelly and Kelly with the Department of Taxation, the importance of keeping in touch with them, with keeping them in the loop, how I communicated with them, how often I communicated with them, and the conversation and the ways of communicating with them, just to keep them in the loop so that they were never surprised at anything that was going to come up. So they took that to heart, and my understanding is that they were going to implement those, I'll call them procedures, but more communication with the Department of Taxation and keeping them in the loop as things were going on. So I was very pleased with the conversation. I was very happy with where they were, and I was very happy with their willingness to learn, to ask good questions of me. And I made myself available, giving them my phone number as well as my email as they needed help. And I hope that I can help them through the budget process, as that part of the year is now upon us, and to be able to help them out with some good practices as they do their estimates and they do their FY26. I think that I'll leave it at that for right now, leave it to Josh, and then I'll come back with some other comments.
Thank you. Josh?
Okay, well, I I like to say that as I visited with them, with the staff at the Incline Village GID, I've been very impressed with the new general manager. I've been impressed with Jennifer, who's a new hire there. I've been very impressed with the existing staff. When I went out on site just to go with it, I took a look at, go out with it and see where we're at. I visited with staff and did some in-depth discussion with some of the staff members on Munis as well, on their software, because I'm on the same platform. I took a look at all of the things that, like Gina said, the mountain decline that they had, and I'm like, I don't know how they get there in time, even to get their audit done this year with a second extension potentially that has been filed for. I have met again a few times since then with them, and I am very pleasantly surprised and impressed at the amount of progress that they've made on getting their audit proceeding forward and trying to get it done in time for the second extension. Not only that, but taking a look at all of the internal control pieces and the findings in the forensic audit and the progress that they've made on those. I think they're on a fantastic trajectory. I think they've got good staff, and they're addressing the right issues at the right times and moving forward. So I give kudos to all of them. Thank you.
Gina, if I may, I forgot to add in, part of the conversation was about the financial system, and I explained to them that we didn't use Munis down here. And so I had kind of deferred to both you and Josh as you were a lot more familiar with the system. So I didn't spend a lot of time talking with them about the system. I talked about it in general, about the challenges with an implementation and stuff. But again, I just want on the record that I don't have any experience with Munis, so I kind of left that one to you two.
Yeah, thank you. I think that the three of us actually made a pretty good subcommittee because the three of us did bring three totally different contributions to the table. So I think that was really pretty good. I'm glad to hear we all sound like we're pretty much on the same page as far as the team that is in place there at Incline GID. I do know there is a few members from IVGID there in the room. Is it appropriate at this time, Kelly, that we ask if any of them would like to contribute any comments to this discussion?
Ideal to be able to bring them up. Before we bring Incline Village GID up to the table, though, I'd like to be able to give Kelly Graman an opportunity to kind of tell you what has transpired since the last Committee on Local Government Finance was, and allow her to tell you what documents, deadlines have been met, what items that possibly she's received extensions on, and make sure that it's very clear what she has provided extensions on or confirmed, and what we are waiting to determine, do we do an extension or not, and be able to move forward. But if at this point, if you don't mind, can Kelly Graman?
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, Kelly.
For the record, my name is Kelly Graman, budget analyst assigned to Incline Village. These are the things I have reviewed: the audit for FY22 and 23. The forensic due diligence audit received 8/1/2024, and this, to let you know, is not statutorily required. The report and status of the update on the staff's progress related to the Reuben Brown observations, letters from the audit report and the denied augmentation, proposed plan of correction regarding the annual audit report for FY23, and the second extension for the FY24 audit. And we review NRS 354.685 to determine if IVGID should be considered for severe financial emergency. And one of them is they're missing, quarterly reports. The third one from last quarter, or excuse me, fiscal year FY24, and the first one is already late. The audit from FY23 was due at the end of December. We received it at the end of March. And the audit for FY24, so far we've got 2 extensions, and then bank reconciliations that were asked for by CLGF. And then we, one of the B on the NRS says the audit report reflects the unlawful expenditure of money in excess of the amount appropriated in violation of the provision. There was nothing shown in FY22 or FY23, but we don't know for FY24 yet since we haven't received it. The audit shows funds with deficit balances. There's nothing in FY23, but we anticipate possibly for FY24 audit because of the denied augmentation. The local government has not corrected violations of statutes and regulations adopted pursuant thereto as noted in the audit report. They're unable to correct the expression of opinion on financial statements. That's the letter dated November 14th, 2024. And the local government has serious internal controls noted in the audit report, which have not been corrected. I do believe that they're working on it. Performing bank reconciliations on all bank accounts no later than 40 days following month end. And disbursement reconciliations to the general ledger. And so there's a couple. The local, they're in their new software, as talked about, Tyler needed assistance in rectifying the integration, and especially with the bank reconciliations. The local government has expended money in violation of the provisions governing the expenditure of that money. Potentially, the board approved an augmentation for FY24 that the district did not have the resources for. we anticipate a possible budget violation. Money restricted for any specific use has been expended in violation of the terms and provisions related to the receipt and expenditure of that money. The board approved the use of the ending fund balance of $1,500,000. The ending fund balance can only be used for capital expenses, so we anticipate a potentially FY24 budget violation.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And we agree, all of the things that you've mentioned were definitely on all three of our lists. Thank you very much to the department. You guys have done a fantastic job forwarding everything to us, and including since the public, a lot of these individuals are either on the call or in the room. I want to let you know the department has forwarded every one of your emails to us. This committee has taken this task very seriously. We have read every one of your emails. Every word has been read. Please know that. And even though we can't respond because of open meeting law, we just wanted you to know that we did read your emails, and thank you for your passion for your community. With all of the things that Kelly mentioned was a concern that I feel that IVGID is making great strides in a lot faster time than I thought they would have. Are we there yet? We're not there yet, but I see the direction going in the right place, and I'll let them elaborate if they wouldn't mind.
Thank you. Can the team from Incline Village GID please feel free to step up to the table right in front of you. Thank you.
It should be on. Can we just check our audio really quickly to see if?
Yes, testing 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Gina, can you guys hear that okay, Josh?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today at this meeting. I'd first just like to thank the Department of Taxation for allowing us to have the resource of the subcommittee. As Gina mentioned, it was my second day on the job that the committee came in, and I started asking questions about goals and objectives, and Gina just gave some great information back with regards to some of her perspectives just right from the get-go. And so I have to say that this process that you've designed as far as the protocols that you go through to assist a district that is having some issues is well designed. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for allowing us to have those resources to really get into our organization and help us really through this process. So from the perspective of the progress that we're making, when I started, the first thing, one of my major objectives was really looking at our team and knowing that we needed additional expertise, especially with that Tyler Munis system. And as mentioned, finding the needle in the haystack, going through 40 resumes one night on my kitchen table, and those 4 things we were looking for with Nevada experience and Tyler Munis and audit experience. Jessica O'Connell showed up, and I brought the resume in the next day and said to our team, please bring Jessica in ASAP. And so after our interview, we said, hey, we just need this resource. So we hired her as special projects analyst, and she's been bridging the gap between our finance department and our IT department on how we go about solving these problems, with her experience having faced the same situation in other areas in her career, to come in and really bridge that gap between those two to just spring us forward with regards to making progress on all these issues that we've been talking about today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jessica O'Connell and Jessica, maybe you could just introduce yourself and speak to any of these issues that they brought up.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Jessica O'Connell, and I actually have several years experience with Tyler. I worked with the Eden platform, the Encode, and now the ERP Munis. And first I want to kind of piggyback on what Kent said. This is amazing that you were allowed to reach out to other agencies to kind of help us, you know, and stay in compliance with the state of Nevada. I think that's just great. We've already asked Josh on his SQL reports because that's something that we're missing. So it's kind of nice to have that as a resource. Yes, I started my career in accounting and I actually started auditing. I worked for CPA firms for over 17 years, and one of my years of experience was auditing small districts, mid to large size cities throughout California, from Carpinteria all the way to Arcata. And when 2008 happened, the recession, I switched over and actually started working in the accounting departments in government entities. And that's where I gained my experience with Tyler. And I then, after the Tubbs fire, moved to Nevada. And then the fires followed us. But anyway, I'm here, and I was wrapping up some family estate stuff and took a little hiatus, and then came back to work, and I started applying for jobs. And then I also, the next thing I do is I look at the city council meetings and realize that IVGID was going through a major Tyler just flaw that I had just finished helping another city in California fix. And what was interesting was they implemented Tyler at the same exact time that IVGID was implementing their software, and they started with HR versus starting with the general ledger. So it really kind of mucked up things. The other thing that I want to mention, and I mentioned to the committee, is that many cities have had their software for a very long time, and a lot of these softwares are sunsetting. They're no longer supporting them, so they're forcing them into a new platform, and it so happens to be the ERP Munis, called Munis platform. And what is not being communicated to these agencies and cities is that you need a specialist on site to help you build the business rules that map out your budget policy, your purchasing policy, so that you can build in workflow to have internal controls and segregation of duty. And also, how do you turn on the bells and whistles for all the fabulous modules that they have? So, you know, being able to come to IVGID and help them through that process, I feel I can help. And I feel that in government accounting, that field, we're losing a lot of government accountants, and I kind of want to, you know, coach and have some kind of succession planning, because eventually I'll retire and I want to make sure my taxpayer monies are being taken care of by someone that knows what they're doing. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm glad I can help.
Thank you.
She's not retiring before I do. Just one other comment I'd like to make is Mick Holman is in the room. He's a brand new trustee, just voted in, and he was assigned last night at our first meeting as the treasurer of IVGID. So Mick, raise your hand. There you go. Yeah, Mick has 20 plus years experience with Procter & Gamble. Were you the CFO?
Chief Accounting Officer.
Chief Accounting Officer. You want to speak a little bit about that?
I was going to say, Mr. Holman, you're more than welcome to bring a chair and join them up there. And then while he's coming up to the table, for the subcommittee, if any of you have questions for them, they're ready to attempt to answer your questions. Jeff.
Thank you. And again, Jessica, it's nice to meet you. Nice to see you, excuse me. I was just wondering if you could tell me how long have you been now on staff, and how much of an opportunity have you had to take a look at where they are, and what's your thoughts about how long this may take to make the progress that you believe needs to be done?
So I think I'm in my third week, if we don't count the days off between the holidays of actual work. I have to say with my audit experience, I knew exactly where to go to look for the things that aren't working. And I've narrowed down the pooled cash. It wasn't set up correctly, so I did a mock-up of what I think it should look like. So I'm working with Tyler, their implementation team, to evaluate what I came up with. And as soon as they give me the thumbs up, I can go into test and get that up and running. As you know, cash is king, and pooled cash is very crucial for everything else to fall into place. So as soon as I can test a revenue receipt and a disbursement with the new pooled cash setup, I would recommend that we put it in the live version and then go back and clean up whatever didn't have that pooled cash going with a journal entry. And then moving forward, we should get some really solid reporting, and then eventually work on adding more modules and also the workflow for internal controls and segregation of duties. The other thing that I noted was we want to do our internal controls and approvals manually, so make sure that they sign off on journal entries. If we have to print them out or do Adobe and document sign that way, at least for audit purposes, that will comply. That there was segregation of duties and layers from data entry to posting to generating any payments that go out. So I would say, I don't want to cut ourselves short, but I would say we can get pooled cash done as soon as possible once we connect with Tyler, and the cleanup will probably take a little longer because we have the audit that we need to finish, and then we're jumping right into budget, and depending on the district where they end up with a director of finance, that will tell us more of when things could be accomplished and completed and to stay on target.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Jessica. And if you would continue on a little bit on that same topic, update those in attendance on where you're at with the bank reconciliation as that ties to that pooled cash.
Okay, so that was one of the, I guess the second questions I said is, where are we at with the bank recs? Because once again, cash is important. So from July to December of this fiscal year, the bank reconciliations have been performed. They are out of balance. And the reason why they're out of balance is because pooled cash is not functioning correctly. And once we get the pooled cash corrected, we'll then go back and refresh the GL totals and check our Excel work papers on the bank rec. I want to take it one step further is once we are comfortable and solid with those end numbers and the reconciliation, we can turn on the bank reconciliation module that the ERP system has. And what that does is it allows us to import directly from the bank into ERP, and then it matches our revenues and our checks within the system, so we don't have to be cutting and pasting and exporting into Excel, which always gives room for error, and we can work within the system. So I think with the right staff, we're gonna have to really look at, getting an ERP analyst in there and figure out who wants to take on the role of that whole cash management side of the house. We can get that up and running fairly quickly, provided that all the resources are in place.
Thank you. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, so Gina, if I may, so Kent, I was an old auditor from a way back. That's where I started as well. And when I was doing hiring, I was always looking for someone with an auditing background. I think that it's the best background for any of this sort of thing, because there are people who ask questions and they don't just take things as they are. They'll ask questions. Why was this? Why was that? So I truly appreciate that. And congratulations, both Kent and Jessica, on your new positions. Jessica, obviously looking prospectively, I think you guys are going in the right direction. How far back do you, and I apologize again because I didn't obviously spend the time with Munis. how long has this system been in place? That are you comfortable with the information that was originally put into the system going forward? How far back do you need to go to reconcile to get yourself to today to be able to move forward knowing that that information is correct? Did I ask that correctly?
Yeah, and
Okay.
interesting enough, you know, if you're an auditor, the word that they use is skepticism. And so I was like, okay, you know, the first thing you ask is, did I tie to the year before's ending balance as my beginning balance on the spot? So because of the implementation, I went all the way back to when they implemented, which was 22. And I could see that someone was working and then they kind of left because they realized, oh, this is really not good, you know, and kind of rolled into the current year. But I have to say, you know, Vicky has done it, from my understanding, she's a CPA and she's done a great job cleaning up a lot of the balances and making sure that they're tied. So there were some minor immaterial things that were hanging from prior year, but not enough to be alarmed. But you know, I think once we finish the 24 audit, that would be on the to-do list with the pooled cash journal entries to just zero those out, make sure that, you know, we don't have to look back.
Terrific. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So if I may ask, and I don't know whether this goes to Kent or this goes to Jessica, how are you doing on your staffing? Do you have the staff? I know the answer always is no, we could always use more staff, but do you feel as though right now you have enough staff to be able to do what needs to be done? At least let's just work in the short term rather than the medium term and the long term.
We're actively trying to recruit 2 additional resources in our accounting department. And we've been really aggressive in getting interviews, and we've made a number of offers out there, but unfortunately we haven't landed those accounts. We've tried some temporary services that hasn't been too productive for us yet, but we have a great human resource team, and they're fully aware of this priority, and they're continuing to work hard to get us candidates. And having built teams in the past, I know how important the recruiting process is and how you have to go above and beyond a lot of times with regards to how you approach the process. And so just like, as an example, one candidate that we had in recently, I ended up bringing back for 2 and 3 different conversations as I was trying to overcome the objectives that I was getting. And, you know, typically those efforts might be left off at the first attempt, but we're extending that for the talent that we see and we want at IVGID. We're going to, you know, make the best efforts possible that will fit within our system, our strategy, and our budgets. As obviously that's first and foremost. It has to meet that. And so up to this point, some of those opportunities have been outside the lines. And, you know, we just have to make sure that we work within those guidelines.
So if I may, just 2 follow-up questions, and Kent, you just brought that up. When I met with Susan and her staff, and I agree with you, Vicky was great. She was great to work with. So kudos to her. And but I had asked them about the budgeting of the staff, and was it properly budgeted? Not only at that point, it was before you had been hired on, without your position and all the vacant positions that were out there and the needs that were they properly budgeted? And I was told that there was adequate resources available for the staffing that needed to be brought on, and that was to be brought on, including you and whomever. Are you in agreement with that, at least at this point, of the information that you've received from them, that the budget is adequate for not only your position, Jessica's position, but any other new ones? Because I'm listening to what Kelly and Kelly have been saying, and I want to make sure that you are staying within the budget so that we can keep 20 what are we in FY 25 within compliance?
Yes,
25,
absolutely.
oh my.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my first call is to Aaron and our human resource department as far as making sure that this is within our budget parameters, and those two positions are. So thanks for the question.
Very good. And I guess the other thing is, and this is just more of a general question, when I moved to Nevada 30 some odd years ago, they were smart enough to take me out of Michigan in January for an interview to come from 7 degrees to 70 degrees. And I loved it and I took the job and it was wonderful. You must have a challenge at this time of year to bring people in with the difficulties with weather and all of that sort of stuff. Are you more people who are wanting people on premises? Are you looking, I know it's a new world, are you looking for people to be able to look remote? What are your thoughts, both Jessica and Kent, in terms of the best way to fill these positions with the requirements that are being asked of your candidates in this new world that we're living in?
At this point, all the above is the correct answer. But obviously having someone in the incline area, and that's why I made that third attempt with that one candidate I was speaking of, because this person did live in incline, and hopefully that story may not be over with in the long term. But in any case, all those avenues are being explored as we try to fill these roles, because of that location we're in. We have to be flexible with regards to finding the right talent. So it's like I said, we're utilizing any and all of those strategies that you mentioned.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Gina.
Great questions. Because we did talk a little bit about that, hopefully getting to the end of FY 25 and hopefully seeing all of these problems taken care of so that next year's audit is on schedule and without any difficulties. So that is the ultimate goal here. If we can, it'll be June 30th before we know it. Josh, did you have any questions of the IVGID team while they were at the table?
I did. Thank you, Gina. So I just want to preface my questions for the record so everyone is aware. There is no way for IVGID to go back and fix the fiscal year 23 audit findings. You can't go back and implement internal controls that go retroactively for some reason. It's weird. I don't know, but there is no way for them to go back and rectify the fiscal year 23 audit findings and to get a clean opinion for that at this point. It's water under the bridge. They need to be focused going forward on the current audit that's out there and make sure that they're addressing all of the findings that were in the previous audit so that they're taken care of going forward. I would like to ask of the over 30 items that were brought up by the forensic audit, and also where your status is on that, on how many of them are addressed already and when you anticipate the rest to be completed. And then the next question would be is, when do you anticipate to have all of your information to the auditor for the fiscal year 24 audit?
For the 24 audit, we are setting the goal as Monday, the 13th, to have all the rest of the 24 items that are on our list today to be provided to the auditor. Now, once they start their work, there will be questions and we'll get some more requests as we work through the process. So we will address those questions as they come in, but the original 24 that I sent over today is projected to be all in the auditor's hands by Monday of next week. On the Reuben Brown report, there was 41 observations that were given to us through that audit. And Susan Griffith has done a nice job in working on those items. Currently, we have 30 of those addressed, and she did publish quite a detailed report on all of those findings and the solutions. So basically, I summarized all that into a table that I provided the committee that has it on 2 pages versus 30 or 40 plus in her report, just to give a snapshot of what are the outstanding 11 items. And those 11 items are really tied to our progress with Tyler Munis as we solve these problems. And so I think the furthest date on those 11 items was about 90 days out with regards to resolving these issues with Tyler Munis.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of the hard work you and your staff have done on this. I am extremely impressed on the amount of progress you've made since the last CLGF meeting. So again, kudos to everyone there. And that's all I have for comments, Gina. Thank you.
If I could just,
Gina, if I
I
could,
wanna-
go ahead.
I wanted to just expand on that a little bit, because Josh, you hit on something that I've been working on a little bit. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Mick Homan. I'm a new trustee for IVGID. I'm also the treasurer. I was appointed treasurer last night, and I was also appointed last night to the audit committee. First, let me give you a little bit of my background. I too started as an auditor. I spent about 11, 12 years with 2 of what is now the Big 4. Back at the time I started, it was the Big 8. In the audit side primarily, I did spend some time in one of those firms' national offices in their accounting standards group. So I have a very deep accounting expertise. Spent most of the last 25 years with Procter & Gamble Company, primarily in the controllers group. Retired 2 years ago as senior vice president, chief accounting officer. I've got a very strong accounting background. I was an advisor to the Financial Accounting Standards Board. I was an advisor to the SEC chief accountant. I've got a lot of time in that space. I also, in full disclosure, was previously a member of IVGID's audit committee. I resigned from that post, not because of any issues I had with staff, but because of some issues I had with prior board members. But am now back on. I have spent a very substantial, and this gets, Josh, to your question about the audits. Last year's financials are done. We can't audit it. That's correct. But when I was on the audit committee, we spent a lot of time looking at a number of items that were brought forth by a prior audit committee member in terms of potential bad accounting. While I was on the audit committee previously, I probably spent about 400 hours working on that project. That ultimately didn't get finished because, unfortunately, most of the staff quit, so there was nobody left to do the work. I've picked that up again over the last couple of weeks since I was elected, and more intensely over the last couple of weeks, going back and looking at every one of those prior memos that was written by a prior audit committee member, as well as some more recent stuff that he's put forward. I've been doing that on my own because I didn't want to disturb staff, because it's very important that they obviously get the current year audit done. But as part of that, and as part of the work that I've been doing, it is quite possible that we will find some items. I've probably sent about a combined total of probably 25 items to staff that I would like them to address before the ACFR is finished, so that if there are any skeletons out there in past, we can clean them up. There are likely some items that we will need to charge off. I don't know yet at this point in time whether it will be material enough to effectively restate the beginning balances from last year's report, but that's a possibility, so I want to be fully transparent with you on that. Do have time set up with staff next week after they get all of this stuff to the auditors, so they complete the audit of this year. I've got some time set up with them next week to go through all of my questions to see if there are items from prior years that we do need to clean up. So that work is ongoing. So I just wanted to close the loop, Josh, on your question about, or your statement about, yes, we can't get an audit opinion, but we are going to make sure that if there are any errors or mistakes in that, we address them.
Thank you, Mick, and welcome to your new role and your new position as a trustee. And I do hope that your experience and talents are put to good use with IVGID. So welcome aboard. You talked a little bit about having some things that may affect the balances at the beginning of the year. Did I hear you correctly? You're meeting next week with your auditor. Is that the right time to convey that, or have you already? How's the communication with your auditor going?
Yeah, I have sent a communication to the auditor. I do not have time set up with them yet. I have time set up with staff next week to go through that list of questions, to figure out if there's anything that we need to take care of. And then we will follow up with discussions with the auditors if we do find issues that do need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, just reiterating what Jeffrey said earlier, the most important piece that we have here is communication, and you have two of the strongest ladies in the room sitting to your left, Kelly and Kelly, and staying in communication with them and your auditors is so important and so key. So to that point, Kelly, do you have any questions of the IVGID team while they're here that we didn't tap on?
Thank you, Gina. One question I did want to hit on it, and it's because right now we have the existence of a second extension for the 24 audit. And so my question to Jessica and the team would be, we've received the second extension. We have not yet granted that as from the Department of Taxation, but can you tell me, was it the 30-day because that's all we would allow? So that's all you asked for, but you know it's going to take longer? Or are you able to feel with high confidence that you're going to be able to meet the deadline of, getting it to your board and having them complete it within the timeline requested?
I think I'll address that.
Thank you.
We're certainly under a lot of pressure to meet the second requested deadline. In getting that information to our auditor by Monday, they're going to need 2 weeks to do their work, and then any additional questions. Ultimately, it gets us to, the ultimate goal will be presented to our Board of Trustees by January 29th. And that's been the goal that we've set. So this is a really stressed timeline to achieve that. But we're not giving up. We're going to do our best to meet those deadlines. If it does look like it's not going to happen, then we're certainly going to be in touch with you with regards to what the status is and talk about what we're going to do in the future.
I think it's important to let the subcommittee know the department has been leaning very heavily on the team in front of you today. And so we have been, we're not just providing, easy approvals, as we don't from any of the local governments. But I think some of the public comments get the impression that we just, rubber stamp everything. We have not yet approved it, although the entity has requested it. And we really wanted, to hear the input here today to get the updates to really know, is it doable or not? So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think to just expand on it a little bit further is that I was kind of anticipating that frustration on your behalf, and that's why we really dove in with Jennifer Farr, and we developed that spreadsheet that we're working on together that has every individual item. I mean, we're really down into the weeds, but because of the extensions that have happened, we have no other alternative than we have to be involved, just all the way, everybody in our organization to get this accomplished. And so that's why we provided that kind of information, just to show you the progress and exactly what's happening, so there's no mystery anymore.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would also ask Gina if Kelly Graman has any questions. She works at the desk, for Incline Village GID on a daily basis. So she may have some additional questions that haven't already been answered.
No, I don't think so, no. Other than I'd like to have a copy of the spreadsheet.
Okay. Sure.
Jeff, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted a quick follow-up on that last response. So And yes, Kelly, you're absolutely correct, because I have asked for extensions from this office over my years of working with them, and they are not rubber stamps. It is not easy to get an extension. Even during COVID, I asked for an extension and it was difficult. So no, I agree with you. It is not rubber stamp. I don't want anyone to think that it is. So my question is, Kelly, and this is more toward Kelly rather than to Gina. If we have a meeting scheduled for, I believe, the 22nd, when would you need to receive some sort of assurance or whatever that you need that this is where it needs to be able to make this meeting on the 22nd of some value? If they're not at that point to have that, I just don't know how it works to be able to. I mean, we can have this kind of conversation, but obviously if we knew that the financial statements, at least a better status of them at that point. So when would be a date that you would need to know where the status is and how far it is, and your thoughts about the value of moving forward?
The department has scheduled January 22nd as the next committee meeting for Committee on Local Government Finance. The notice of appearance have been sent out as of yesterday. So those have been sent out, whether or not the entities have received them yet. We are going to have that meeting, whether or not, a recommendation or is decided on at that meeting or not. They may ask more of the subcommittee, or if the subcommittee decides they want some more meetings before then, or, before going to provide their fact finding and discussion, concerns. But I think, this next Monday, the individuals here in front of us today have mentioned that all the information is going to be the auditors by January 13th. So I feel very confident that on Monday, I know how fast the auditors will work, and I think they are feeling the pressure from not only the department, but also from the entity. We've been good to know, let each of them know that, we are watching those deadlines and ensuring or checking off the boxes. Are they meeting those commitments or not? So January 13th should be a good one to be able to tell us, what will we have to present to the Committee on Local Government Finance at that time. And then they'll have your, input from the discussions and your fact finding, which you guys have done some amazing work. And I think to commit or let Incline Village GID know, you had the cream of the crop for the subcommittee members that were able to dedicate some additional time and willingness to be on this subcommittee. They do have, knowledge, various knowledge, whether it's county and the governmental and the broad number of funds, to the, Gina, Josh, understanding of Munis and Tyler, and what reports they may see that maybe Incline Village GID did not receive. So to be able to even give you guidance and say, I don't know what Tyler's telling you, but you can get this report, or, that is very valuable. And so I feel that they've taken everything the committee has provided to them to heart and hopefully benefited significantly.
Absolutely.
So Kelly, is there a way that, and Gina, I apologize, is there a way that maybe we could get some correspondence from the IVGID on the 13th, maybe by the end of day, to let us know where it is, to maybe let us know by Friday where it is? I don't know what the right timing of what needs to be done, but I'd like to have a little bit of knowledge ahead of time before the meeting on the 22nd as to where everything is. And I realize that it won't be presented to their board, even if it does, until the 29th.
I was going to ask for the same thing. And I think, just so that we stay in compliance with open meeting law, Kelly, I believe if they just notify you on the 13th, then you can inform the committee. Is that the correct avenue?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be my
Well,
request.
we can provide the information, the correct. I'm asking our district, our Attorney General's office.
Kayla has graciously deferred to me. This is Yvonne Navarez-Goodson for the record. So I think in typical practice, Chair Rackley, what we would do is if staff has provided that material, we can provide it to the individual members, but we would ask that there be no communication amongst the members about that material until we next meet in an open meeting.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, if that would be great if we could just hear by end of day on Monday if they were able to meet their goals, and that would just, I think, would help us as committee members as we kind of go forward into the full committee CLGF meeting on the 22nd.
Can I ask the Attorney General a question as well? How do you, and again, this may be this may not be my place to do it. How do you anticipate the agenda item? Can we make it kind of general? Because I don't know how to address it come the 22nd. Is it going to be very much like I'm reading it now, just discussion regarding facts and circumstances?
I do have I have drafts. Okay. Huh?
I have thoughts.
Wait, Jeff, to address your question, because we did provide information, the request to appear to the teams, those were sent out yesterday. They had, in general, I believe that that agenda will include some discussion from the subcommittees and then possible determination or recommendation at that CLGF meeting. So that's how it's scheduled right now. It is still a draft agenda item, but that's how I would anticipate it coming down.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Yvonne Navarez-Goodson for the record. I would think that at the next meeting, it's a meeting of the full committee. So the full committee will have an opportunity to take action if it so wishes, and the feedback from this subcommittee would be informational only, and it would be the committee itself that could take action.
Thank you for that clarification. That's how I remembered it happening previously, but I appreciate your clearing that up for us.
She's great. She keeps us on that straight and narrow.
Good to have good legal counsel.
Yes.
Any other discussion regarding the facts and circumstances related to the requirements for fiscal watch? Okay, hearing none. Thank you again to everybody for your time, the department, the staff at IVGID, my fellow subcommittee members, and the members of the public. As I've mentioned, we've read every word. We feel your passion. Please know that we took this very seriously. So thank you.
Gina, Madam Chair, can I also request that we basically walk through the rest of the agenda for item 4?
Yes.
Possible action, schedule a date if you felt one was necessary for an additional subcommittee meeting or not.
Well, I open this up to the other subcommittee members as well. I feel at this time, I don't feel like we should set a future schedule a future date, knowing that they're going to be on the agenda for the full committee on local government finance on the 22nd. I really don't think that anything could change between now and then substantial enough to warrant another meeting, but I would love to hear from Jeff and Josh on that.
Well, I agree, based on what the AG said that the agenda will be for the meeting on the 22nd. We could take, at that point, could we not, and schedule a subcommittee meeting based on how the conversation goes?
So yes, legal counsel and the subcommittee is still in place. So depending on the action that's taken on the 22nd, there could be future meetings past then.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Then I'm cool with that then.
Okay. Josh?
I think Jeffrey's a genius. I agree with him entirely.
Great. The next item on the agenda then is public comment. If anyone in the meeting room here or on the phone, Christina, can you give the instructions?
Anybody on Zoom has public comment, please raise your hand or hit star 9 if you're on the telephone. Final call for public comment.
Is there any public comment in the room? Seeing none.
Okay.
Madam Chair, you can adjourn the meeting if you like, or ask for.
I think we are ready to adjourn. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.